Hello and welcome to the most beautiful place in the world. Welcome to the Tesla Model Y long-range dual motor made in China, brand new. And of course, welcome, to Norway. We are at the Trollstigen, the very famous mountain road behind me. It's almost empty out here. We're one of the very few out on the road today. I thought it was the perfect opportunity to take you for a drive in this made in China Tesla Model Y. Talk about the build quality. A lot of you are asking about this. Talk about maybe some of the design choices and some of the updates, such as the interior and headlights and things that I've noticed putting 1,000 kilometers on this car over the last day and a half. So let's get into it. I'm so excited to share my impressions of the made in China Tesla Model Y. Now you'll have to forgive some of the harsh lighting here in Norway, but take a look at just these insane mountain views. Oh wow, it's crazy. And it doesn't even stop on the other side of the Trollstigen's crazier. We'll of course go up there and take a look at it. But anyway, this is a brand new 2021 Tesla Model Y. Again, long-range dual motor, so non-performance, same car, just detuned. And of course, some suspension differences between the performance. But the stealth performance you can actually get, which is this exact car, just tuned up in terms of power. We'll talk about whether I think you should get a performance Model Y or not. But this is the long-range efficient one. And by far, this car is crazy efficient. You see, driving around here in Norway, speed limits are low. Pretty much the maximum anywhere outside of a highway is about 80 kilometers per hour, and usually they're on pretty twisty rural roads that you can't even go that fast. So we have averaged in just about 1,000 kilometers 150 watt hour per kilometer, which is just about 210, 220 watt hour per mile. I know my conversion's a little bit off, but just really insane efficiency here, again, considering the speed. The charging infrastructure in Norway is just wonderful. There's electric cars pretty much everywhere, but my impression is it's not like every car is electric, like a lot of people in the US probably have the impression of Norway. I would say maybe 1 in every 8 or 10 cars I see on the road is electric, but still a ton. You go in the major cities and it's way more than that even there. But today we're not talking about Norway. We will go on the road. We'll take you for a little drive in the Model Y, but we're going to talk about this car. And well, we've done a lot of Tesla stuff on our channels in the US, but here's a neat little difference. And I believe the US cars get this as well, but here is the new headlight unit. So you can see a projector LED beam there. And I have to say, it really is brighter than the US headlight that we get. No question, it's really nice. Weird thing is though, you cannot leave the fogs on here. Every time you start up the car, it defaults to front fog lights off, which I love running fog lights all the time because it really gives a nice wide expansion of light in front and to the side of the car. So that's just weird European programming, different laws, different rules, different customary driving, of course. I'm sure people don't use fogs as much as I do. I will say though, the auto high beams is a little bit slower to react on this car than the US cars that I've driven. And also the light output beam is really jagged. It's not a smooth beam. And I also think it's a little bit of a disappointment that almost every other car, including like European econo boxes, have these matrix LEDs that will light up the side of the road but keep the car coming black. And this one doesn't do that. It's just headlights on or off, which I think is a real shame because matrix LED headlight technology with adaptive lighting is one of the most critical safety features that we don't have in the US. And I really wish Tesla would have implemented it for Europe, of course. Anyway, coming around the side, you can see this one spec'd in midnight silver on the Aero wheels. Personally, I like the Aero wheels on Model Y. My opinion is I think they look great. They look fine. And no problems, really. I think they look nice. In Europe, maybe the same as the US, they're on Hankook 255 45 19s. We're running about 44 PSI in them. Very efficient, of course. Little bit of paint protection film here on the side as well. So that's pretty neat here to see that. I'm not sure if that's the same. Could be. You can see Model Y, of course, has the blacked out chrome and everything. Nothing new here. Around the back, it's all pretty standard. Really, the only difference is I think the turn signals are amber, which they are red in the US. And that's about it. Of course, you can get a towing package for this car. And then this right here is another main difference. Please forgive the lighting. This is your CCS charging port. which in the US, we just have the proprietary small circular-ish connector. Here though, you can plug in Type 2 at the top or CCS at the bottom. Unlike Model S though, this car cannot accept DC fast charging through Type 2, which is a very unique situation for Model S and X earlier on. This car, you do have to use CCS handles, and every supercharger we've been to on this trip has been equipped with a CCS and a Type 2 handle, unless it's a version 3 supercharger, which is just CCS. And I believe Tesla allows Model S and X owners to get an adapter to use the CCS stations here. So in terms of design, in terms of, fit and finish, it's all good. And I have to say, my impression of Model Y out of Fremont is good too. You guys know my mom has owned a Model Y. I have so many friends with Model Ys. I think it's really, truly a great car. And there's, very little body panel differences. I mean, this stuff doesn't really bug me. I don't go around with a micrometer looking at panel gaps and stuff. I'm like, this is just not what I care about in a car. I know a lot of people do. So I'm going to show you, some of these things around here. But to me, to my eye, all of this down the doors here looks straight. It looks nice. Look at this driver's door. Even the trim pieces back here, I have to say, line up better than on almost any Tesla I've seen. Look at this, the trunk. This is always really hard for Tesla to do for some reason, especially with the power trunk lid on Model 3. Obviously, this is not a Model 3, but look at this line here. It's pretty consistent. Looks nice. I mean, I have nothing, no issues, no complaints here with really the fit and finish of the car. The trunk lid lines up, the taillights line up. On Model X days, it was so funny. You'd follow them and the taillights were always a little bit of different height. I always thought this was a little bit charming, a little bit silly. With the Tesla, I think you're buying such a great technological device, really good powertrain, really good reliability, proven reliability, of course. I've owned 2 cars on this chassis, 2 Model 3s, both that I've run very aggressively, both with very high mileage, and both with 0 mechanical issues whatsoever, which is just insane to me. To me, the trim, though, looks great. The paint looks good. I mean, it's not like missing paint anywhere. And look, if I compare this to maybe a Lucid or a Taycan or something that's coming down the road, I'm sure someone coming up here with, a magnifying glass could say, oh, well, look at this, look at that. But to me, you don't buy a Tesla as a special car. You don't buy it as something to put paint protection film on and love. This is just my opinion. This is a refrigerator with wheels. It's an iPad on wheels. This is a device to get you around safely, comfortably, and quickly. And it does this really well. It's got very little emotional connection to me. I treat it as a device. It's purely an appliance, but it's a great appliance. Don't get me wrong, really nice. This is just the way I think about them. Of course, people think differently. So there's your quick tour of the exterior. Let me show you inside. Now inside the Model Y, this is where things get a little bit exciting. Take a look at this door panel right here. So this has wood on the door panel, which is nice. But I have a couple issues with the execution. I mean, if we're gonna get nitpicky here, this is a review. These are the things that bug me. Of course, everyone's gonna feel differently. Let me flip the car around because the sun's in the wrong spot. And I'll show you also, while we're here, double pane glass on this one. Nice, they have a little soundproofing. Gotta say, nice solid window. But if I'm cruising down the road and I hit the express up, like, you pull up on the window switch and have it go up automatically. Occasionally, like 1 out of every 4 times, it will just stop halfway up about here and then it goes back down. And I'm like, well, I think they kept the same motor and sensor as the single pane glass, and then any bump that you hit or air pressure, like you already have all that extra weight on there, thinks something's getting caught in the door. This is just my impression. So with a helicopter flying overhead in the most crazy beautiful place, let me show you this interior. So first off, I love the wood on the doors. I really think this adds to the visual experience. But like I mentioned, there's a couple execution things that bug me. First of all, the grain does not match up. So you can see one grain goes this way, the other grain goes that way. I don't think it's a smooth curvature. I think they could have blended these 2 materials better. Secondly, they have this sort of silvery plastic material back here, but no ambient lighting. I mean, this is a $50,000+ car in the US. And oh, so many other companies are doing ambient lighting so well. This car is dark at night. It's hard to see around. I thought it would be great if they did a little bit of strip of light under here, maybe even back here under the wood. Maybe that's a little distracting, but just have a nice drop down glow so you can see where everything is inside. Get in any like Audi, for example, and they have this little tiny LED. I remember our i3 had this and it was the best thing ever. And it just provides a very annoying light that just casts a nice little bright light, not bright light, a dim light on everything, so you can see what's in your cup holders and stuff. So I thought that would be nice. The new center console is cool. I definitely prefer it to the old one. No more fingerprinty matte plastic. The wireless phone chargers are good. It still heats up my phone. Personally, I'm not a fan of wireless charging. It's just inefficient. The UI is just insanely good. This is Tesla's strong point here. Everything on this screen works, makes sense, and the supercharger routing and network is, I think, one of the strongest points of this car. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get inside. Alyssa's ready to go, I think. Let's take it for a ride and rip up one of the most famous roads in the world, the Trollstigen, right back over here. So Alyssa is with us now. For those of you who don't know, Alyssa edits a lot of our videos. What do you think of Norway?
It's really pretty.
I think this is the only video we're shooting in Norway for Out of Spec reviews. But we've chosen the place to do it.
Really?
Yeah. What else are we going to shoot? We're not reviewing anything here. We're shooting an Out of Spec motoring road trip video.
Yeah, I guess that's it.
Okay, cool. So let's go into drive here. I mean, you guys have been with me in so many Teslas over the years, and let's just go slip start on. Obviously, this one is not a performance, so no track mode, but wait. Model Y doesn't even have track mode, does it? And Elon said you were going to get track mode. So you hear all that rubbing and grinding, first of all? I don't know if you hear all that. Yeah, this I think is a weird... I've never been in a Model Y that kind of at full locks before it. So I'm not totally sold on this whole China's better built thing. I think the Fremont cars are good too, my opinion. Let's go full throttle. There, it nerfs you till about 50 miles an hour. Now it hits it hard. So really rocks it when you get under speed. I would bet like a 70 to 120 mile an hour drag race that this has got to be very close to a Model Y performance, I swear. So we're at 65% state of charge. Now I have a couple issues with Model Y, but before I go into those, do you want to share your impression of the Model Y, Alyssa?
I'm not a huge, well, we've just been driving around in a Taycan Cross Turismo for a while, so I've been quite spoiled, but I don't find it to be as comfortable with the ride. I mean, the seats are fine and all that stuff.
Seats are great. Yeah. Seats are really good.
And one thing that I've really noticed is that the heated seat 3 to 2 to 1 ratio is like not equal at all. Like a 3 is super, super hot, and then the rest are just kind of very mild.
Lukewarm.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Well, so let's start with the issues of Model Y. My two biggest ones are suspension calibration is way too on the sporty side for a not supposed to be sporty car. Like, there's normal people buying these that are never going to drive them on a road like this and rip them around, and this car is, I think, unexcusably rough. It beats you up every bump. Bam, 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 bam. It bounces. It's not tuned for comfort. Right. Or even not great for performance, because when you do drive it really hard, it's too soft. So they've just chosen something down the middle that I think this should be the performance suspension, and then the dual motor suspension should be, I think, really quite cushy, my opinion. Right. Secondly, steering ratio is far too quick on the highway. When you're coming in and out of autopilot, I think, especially with the increased ride height, we'll wait here and let this car come down, especially with the increased ride height, these little tiny movements really make the car sway. It's probably the same ratio as Model 3, but because you're sitting higher, you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And again, it doesn't impact me because I'm used to clicking the shifter up to turn autopilot off, and like, I'm here to compensate for it. But we've seen Model Ys on the road that just start doing this, right? Because they just come out of autopilot and they're like, oh, whoa, everything's flying all over the place. So those are my two main issues with Model Y. Everything else though, oh, maybe the charging curve isn't great. We have not had good charging this trip. Brand new car, picked it up with 8 kilometers on the pack. Beautiful waterfall we're going by behind us. And yeah, it's like 90 kilowatts at 50% state of charge on a warm battery. I mean, we'll do some more charging testing, but I mean, Kia EV6, Ioniq 5, Taycan are just blowing away this thing when it comes to charging. Now, in terms of charging ease and availability, the supercharger network is amazing. And here they have all these pull-through ones, which are the best for trailers and for snow. You don't have to back into superchargers in many places, so I'm loving the Norwegian supercharger network.
Right.
You're loving the Norwegian waterfalls.
Yeah, I can't stop watching it. Yeah, but I would say if I were to, I mean, obviously I live in the US, so a Tesla would be better to get around as an EV.
Can you explain why?
Just with the charging network is just everywhere pretty much.
Yeah,
and,
so CCS on the coast is good, but the problem with CCS chargers is they're unreliable. You never truly know if you're going to be able to charge when you get there, versus a supercharger, which is like a 99.9% yes. And I think only one time have I ever showed up to a supercharger and couldn't charge, and that was because the town was out of power.
Right. But here, or just in Europe in general, I would see no reason to have a Tesla over any other EV.
Yeah, I think the Tesla advantage is less here in Europe.
Right.
I think the other cars drive just as good, if not better. Range does not matter here, we've learned.
No.
I think like we're just stopping at chargers to like have fun and like, oh, we're at a charger. But like no one charges. They're all empty. Because everything's so close to each other and the speeds are so low. So like you see e-Golfs and Leafs and all these like little tiny city EVs that people are driving around because you don't need that much range. I mean, the European EV solution or situation is totally different than the US situation.
Right.
In the US, Tesla still, I think, is king. Like if a family member's looking at a car or a friend and they're like, I want to drive an electric car and I don't want an adventure, I just want to get around, it's like just go buy a Model 3, right? Or a Model Y.
Yeah.
So this is where I think in terms of charging networks. In terms of the car though, this car does some amazing things that like almost no other car can do. The first is the infotainment's fantastic. The whole thing with like putting the speedometer on the side, because I haven't driven my Model 3 and it feels like forever, I got in this and I was like, oh wow, speedo's there. That took like 5 minutes to recalibrate to. And what are you pointing at?
Helicopter.
Oh yeah, neat. And so now I'm totally used to the screen over here in the center. Secondly, autopilot is truly fantastic, except people use it the wrong way. People are like, this thing's going to become full self-driving and I'm going to put my kids in the back of this and send them to school. Let me tell you right now, my opinion is that will never happen on this car. I hope it does. Look, it'd be amazing. I'm not saying I don't want it to happen. I just genuinely don't think that Tesla's autopilot lead is as good as they say it does. And I'll give you one of the main examples that I use to say this. The first is like, if I'm coming up down the highway in the right lane and an entrance lane is coming in, right? And the dotted line goes away, this thing just goes into the right lane. And then it's like freaks out and comes back. It can't even figure out what lane to stay in on the highway sometimes. And now you're just like, let me send my children to school and Elon will drive them in their Model Y. I don't know. This to me is crazy. So, but autopilot is incredible in the use case that it is, which is just amazing driver assistance. It just does amazing lane centering as long as there's no on-ramp. It pretty much works everywhere. The speed modulation is amazing and it's really good. I will say though, autopilot in Europe seems to be a bit more limited than autopilot in the US. The first is this one doesn't have full self-driving, so I'm not sure about the lane change stuff. But I will say, in terms of cornering, this keeps coming up with like autopilot limited, please take over, because I don't think they can actually go past a certain degree on the steering wheel. I also noticed in the US, you can hit the scroll wheels or the gear selector back into drive to tell it that you're touching the wheel, which is dumb. And Tesla should have better driver monitoring than just a torque sensor and a steering wheel. But here in Europe, you do have to put some torque into the steering wheel. And that's where my main issue with the quick steering comes, because when you do put torque in the steering wheel, it's like, and so I think if you pop out of autopilot, it's not so clear to new users, especially like your grandfather when he first got his Model 3. He still doesn't know how to, I mean, genuinely, he's still like, autopilot, out of autopilot, don't, you know, freaking out. And yeah, it's honestly, I love that he drives a Model 3, but his use of autopilot, is pushing it a little bit.
Very much.
Yeah,
so.
very much so.
My brother was terrified when he last.
Oh,
visited.
really?
Yeah, he's like, this is just not good. And my poor grandmother.
But now he's getting a Model Y.
Yeah, well, that's not gonna help.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah. He's an enthusiast for sure, but my poor little sweet grandmother is in the back, and she's just scared for her life, and Chuck is just having the time of his life. He's just trusting it 100%, which is just terrifying.
Let's make a quick U-turn here. Look at the scenery, by the way. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
So I like, a lot of people have been asking me, okay, made in China Model Y, you know, this or a Model 3, 100% Model Y. I would say, you know, if you're looking at a dual motor 3 or a dual motor Y, like just get the Y. It's extra space, looks, I mean, they don't look good, the 3 or the Y, I think. And so this is a great car all around. And that's the thing, the Model Y has really set the benchmark for the industry in terms of connectivity, in terms of app control, ease of UI, amazing charge station route planning, great driver assistance, actually really quiet cabin, almost no rattles. There's a little one here in this seatbelt here that I've heard in every Model Y I've driven, but I'm a little bit sensitive. That's a cute dog. I'm a little bit sensitive to buzzes and rattles and things.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, so this car does definitely have some.
Right.
It's great. It feels just like if you told me this was a Fremont car. It's not life-changing. It's not world's difference. It's got some wood here on the doors, but
which I don't like.
People are like waiting to buy Model Ys to get one out of Giga Texas. I'm like, just buy the car now. They hold their value so well, and then sell it when your Giga Texas car comes in. I bet you won't feel a difference, is my opinion. I don't know. The biggest thing this car needs improvement on, though, is the charging. The Tesla used to like have a great charging curve, and then like a year and a half ago they just completely smothered it. Of course no one said anything, but this is how we were able to break and hold the Cannonball record in the Model 3 for so long. We had the last run with the best charging curve, and now it's all just like kind of terrible compared to other cars. I mean, EV6 was doing 230 kilowatts at 70%. This is doing like 60 kilowatts at 70%. I mean, that's crazy to me. But you just can't deny how easy it is to drive this car around. You hand the keys to anyone, you say put in your destination, and you go. And that's the hardest thing for an electric car that Tesla's figured out, and they've done a great job. I love this glass roof. It's actually a really quiet cabin. We haven't had this car at above 100 kilometers an hour very much because we've been in Norwegian back roads. But I want to say a huge thank you to Marcus Beal for lending us this car for this Norwegian trip. If you ever come to Norway, or if you're here and you're thinking about buying or leasing an electric car, contact Marcus Beal. I'll leave their website link in the description below. And he literally met us at the delivery center, said, here are the keys to my 8-kilometer Model Y. And
go.
Have fun. He's like, I gotta go. Like, okay, I don't even know who you are, but thank you. Any last thoughts on Model Y? The 7-seater seems silly. I don't know how anyone's gonna fit back there.
No, I mean we haven't sat in the back, so
this one doesn't have 7 seats.
Well, in general.
Oh, the back seat's fine in Model Y.
Oh, okay.
It's just flat.
Yeah, I mean it's a great car.
It's you can't deny it. It's a great car.
It's a Tesla. It's
It just doesn't excite me or you.
No, not anymore. I mean, it used to.
Yeah, 2 years ago when this car came out, or even 3 years ago when the Model 3 came out, it was going to be transformative, and it has. And look at how many you see. And I think for a lot of people, their goal is like they're evangelists. They want to see like people drive electric, and like that's the goal for everyone. And Tesla has made electric sexy, easy, and attainable, and that's this just continues with the trend.
Yeah.
For me though, the real exciting cars now, I mean, Plaid is going to be a monster. I can't wait to experience that. Right. As soon as we're back in the US, we're going to do some Plaid stuff, which a guy in our town, a friend of ours, just got one. So yeah, so we'll be able to use his car. He said use it for anything. Great. Yeah, but I don't see I think
I don't see the luxury in this.
Oh, it's not
anymore.
A luxury car. Yeah. No, but like Model S and X used to be nice. It used to be like exciting, but this I feel like Tesla's lost their edge in my heart a little bit.
Yeah.
Just in terms of the products, I mean, they're just so good. That's the problem. It's just not innovative anymore. There's not new crazy things coming all the time like it used to be, because they've kind of got to where they need to be.
Yeah.
They've got to the point where anyone can buy this car and drive it, and that's awesome. And I like a little bit more of the adventure side of things. So rolling up the Chargers, not sure if we're going to be able to plug in. I know I'm a unique case, but it makes for good content. So maybe we'll see our Tesla go and something else replace it. I don't know. I do love our Model 3 though. They just hold up to so much abuse. They really do, don't they? The white seats are amazing in our car.
Right.
If you're getting a Tesla, get the white seats, no question. They're so good. Yeah, we've put the muddy dogs in there, and
yeah, I think it might be clean once we get back, so we'll see.
yeah, Jordan, one of our colleagues, we let him borrow the car while we were gone for the month, so we'll see how it goes. Anyway, there's your Model Y made in China review. Screwed together really well. I think it's there's some design things with Model Y that I don't agree with. Steering, suspension. There's company communication stuff that I don't agree with on autopilot. But overall, like, if anyone is just looking for an electric car and you know they don't want to figure out all the different charging providers, plugs in this, it's just, this is the go-to standard. This is the gold standard.
And you live in the United States.
Yeah, well, even here, I think it's fine.
Yeah?
Now it's exploding, because this is, we have one of the first Model Ys in Europe.
Right.
Yeah, and now, you know, people are like looking at this thing, they're like, whoa. So I think you'll see Model Ys just everywhere here too. Yeah. Cool, well, thanks for watching another Out of Spec Reviews video. Let me know what you think. Does Tesla still capture your heart, or are you kind of excited about all these new, weird, exciting, odd cars like Mach-E, EV6, Ioniq 5, Macan Electric, Q4 e-tron, ID4. You guys let me know. The new stuff has so many weird quirks, and they do something so well and something so terribly that to me it's a little bit more interesting than this, which is almost clinical, but in a really impressive way. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.